Stop right there and stay with me, because this is one of the most important reality checks and opportunity updates I can bring to this audience, especially for those of you in the Dinar for Veterans community who have been watching this story for years with patience and discipline. Today we are going to talk about Kuwait, Iraq, and why a decades-old recovery model is still shaping how serious analysts look at Iraq in 2026. This is not hype, it is not a promise, and it is not financial advice. It is a grounded comparison between what has already happened in history and what is still unfolding right now. After Kuwait was liberated in 1991, the country faced a moment of truth. Its infrastructure had been damaged, its financial system disrupted, and confidence in its currency shaken. Kuwait understood something critical that many people overlook even today. A country does not recover just by rebuilding roads and buildings. It recovers by restoring trust in its financial system. The Central Bank of Kuwait moved quickly. Old banknotes were removed, new ones were introduced, and strict control was re-established over the monetary system. Banking operations resumed with purpose, and the government acted decisively to send a clear signal to the world that Kuwait was stable, open, and credible again. That signal mattered because currency is not just paper, it is trust, it is belief, it is a message to global markets that a nation is ready to do business. Kuwait rebuilt that trust faster than many expected, not by luck, but through structure, discipline, and timing. And that is exactly why this example still gets attention today. Now bring that lens over to Iraq. Iraq is not Kuwait, and anyone telling you it is a copy-paste situation is not being honest. Iraq's path has been longer, more complex, and far more difficult. The country has faced war, sanctions, internal political friction, corruption challenges, and deep public distrust in its financial institutions. But despite all of that, Iraq also shares something important with Kuwait. It is a resource-rich nation with significant oil reserves, growing gas potential, and a central bank that has been working for years to stabilize and modernize its financial system. This is where the comparison becomes meaningful. The question is not whether Iraq will repeat Kuwait's exact outcome. The real question is whether a country with major natural resources, strong reserves, and increasing international engagement can eventually move toward a more credible and stable currency position. That is a serious question, and it is the reason this topic refuses to disappear. One of the most important factors in this discussion is sovereign strength. Kuwait had it in the form of oil wealth, centralized control, and decisive leadership after liberation. Iraq also has massive national assets and a state-controlled financial structure that is actively evolving. Iraq's foreign reserves, often reported in the range of around $100 billion in recent years, provide a meaningful financial cushion. That does not guarantee any sudden change in currency value, but it does mean Iraq is not operating from a position of weakness. Reserves matter because they allow a central bank to stabilize its currency, manage external shocks, and maintain credibility in international trade. They are not the entire story, but they are one of the key pillars. When you combine reserves with energy exports, gold holdings, and ongoing trade relationships, you begin to see why Iraq remains in serious financial conversations globally. But here is where discipline matters. A strong currency is not created by resources alone. It requires a functioning system around it. This is where Iraq has been doing the slow, often frustrating work that does not always make headlines. Over the past several years, Iraq has pushed forward with banking reforms, digital payment systems, compliance measures, and efforts to bring more of its population into the formal financial system. That shift away from a cash-heavy economy is critical. If people do not trust banks, the currency cannot fully stabilize. If businesses operate outside the formal system, the economy remains fragmented. Iraq is trying to fix that. It is not fast, and it is not perfect, but it is movement. And movement is what serious observers watch. Oil, of course, sits at the center of all of this. Iraq is one of the key energy producers in the world, and that gives it strategic importance that cannot be ignored. A country with that level of resource output has leverage, but it also has responsibility. Its currency structure has to make sense within its export-driven economy. Kuwait understood this clearly. Its currency strength was tied directly to its economic foundation. Iraq faces the same reality, just with more complexity. Another layer that keeps this comparison alive is how quickly a currency story can change once a government establishes control and credibility. Kuwait demonstrated that a damaged monetary system can be repaired when leadership aligns policy, banking, and public confidence. Iraq has not reached that point yet, but it is working toward pieces of that framework. There is also an important conversation happening around currency structure itself. Iraq still operates with large denominations that reflect its past economic stress. That raises legitimate questions about whether future reforms could include redenomination or structural adjustments to simplify the system. That does not mean overnight wealth or dramatic jumps. It means normalization. It means building a currency system that fits a modern economy rather than one shaped by crisis. And then there is the psychological side, which is often underestimated. When a population lives with a weak currency for a long time, that reality becomes normalized. People lose faith in savings, in banking, and in long-term planning. Rebuilding that confidence is one of the hardest parts of any recovery. Kuwait had to do it, and Iraq is still in the process of doing it. Confidence cannot be forced. It has to be earned through consistent action. This is why the debate around Iraq's currency is so intense. On one side, you have skeptics who correctly point out that reserves alone do not create value, and that Iraq still has serious structural issues to address. On the other side, you have observers who see a country with real assets, improving systems, and increasing global engagement, and they recognize that these are the ingredients required for long-term monetary strength. The truth sits in the middle. Kuwait's recovery proves that a strong comeback is possible after extreme disruption. Iraq's current position proves that the process can take years and require sustained effort. This is not about fantasy, it is about alignment. Policy, reserves, trade, banking reform, and public trust all have to come together. For those of you who have been holding Dinar and following this story closely, the most important takeaway is this. Progress matters more than predictions. Iraq's future will not be determined by rumors or social media noise. It will be determined by measurable improvements in its financial system, its compliance standards, its trade relationships, and its ability to operate as a stable economic state. Kuwait's story still matters because it provides a real-world example of what success looks like when those elements align. It is not a guarantee for Iraq, but it is a blueprint that shows what is possible when a country moves from instability to credibility with discipline and intent. So as we look at Iraq today, the direction is what matters most. The country is not standing still. It is building, adjusting, and trying to strengthen its financial position, step by step. That does not mean a major currency shift is imminent. It means the groundwork is being laid, and that groundwork is exactly what would need to be in place for any meaningful change to occur. The bottom line is simple. Stay grounded, stay informed, and focus on real developments. Watch the reserves, watch the banking reforms, watch the trade activity, and watch how Iraq positions itself on the global stage. If a stronger currency future ever emerges, it will come from these fundamentals, not from speculation. Kuwait showed the world that recovery is possible. Iraq is still working through that journey. And that is why this comparison continues to matter in 2026, especially for those who understand that real opportunity is built on patience, structure, and facts.